I'm going to show you a way to get a better HDR on these PC games that are trying to output 10,000 nits and they do not have a peak brightness slider, or they just have broken sliders like here in Horizon Zero Dawn. But we also have Uncharted, The Last of Us, God of War, and it is unfortunately it is very frequent that we get these games, and we need to fix them, especially if you are using a monitor that is not able to do tone mapping, or a TV that cannot do tone mapping at 10,000 nits. Because on these LG OLEDs we can actually. We come here to the settings and we select tone mapping off or dynamic tone mapping. It works for both. And you step on select mode 11131111, and then you can change here mastering peak MaxCLL 10,000, and the TV is going to do tone mapping. So now when you do that, the mid-tones look dark. It's just too compressed. It doesn't look great. Okay, it doesn't look great, and this is something else to try. This is another tool to try and to get better at. So let's take a look at this. This is the results that I achieved. I adjusted my camera settings for the highlights. So everything else looks very dark, but I only adjusted for the highlights. So you can see this difference before, after, okay? So this is how the game looks. Absolutely messed up, horrendous. Okay, this is just unacceptable. I don't understand. These developers with the new Horizon Forbidden West, they were able to give you probably the best HDR ever, or something like that, based on the reviews and the the opinions from people. They say, oh, Horizon Zero Dawn HDR is just absolutely incredible. How can they mess this up so bad in Horizon Zero Dawn? It's just like they probably fired the guy that worked on the HDR here. They say, bro, you're out. It's just crap. Look at this before, after. So now, what I'm using here on the PC is Reshade, okay? So on Reshade, we have now this new HDR analysis tool, and we have other shaders to fix the HDR. So the shader that I am using to fix the HDR, to do tone mapping, basically tone mapping, is this shader called Lilium Tone Mapping. That's how it's called, Lilium Tone Mapping. So now how can you fix this 10,000 nits HDR games? Very easy. You just have to select where it says MaxCLL for a static tone mapping. You select 10,000, and then you select target peak luminance 800, or you depend on the game. So what you have to do is just look at the MaxCLL using this HDR analysis tool, and if you want 800 for HGIG on this LG C1 or one of these LG OLEDs that have 800 nits HGIG, you just make sure that the MaxCLL is 800, okay, or just right below 800. So that's all you have to do. You just have to adjust this target peak luminance to do tone mapping, and the difference is remarkable. So now I am doing other tweakings that I'm gonna share with you. This is not the only thing that I'm doing, because after I do that, it is not enough. I have to fix the midtones, the colors. I did a lot of tweakings to fix this one. I've been working on it the entire day. It's okay. Before, after. The difference is just absolutely gigantic, okay? And again, I adjusted the camera settings for the highlights. If I try to show you the midtones, let me try to do that. Let me adjust the ISO of the camera for the midtones. Okay, so now you can see the midtones better. Okay, so that's how we can do tone mapping. You want 800. If the game is trying to output 4,000, you do the same here. You select 4,000 where it says MaxCLL for static tone mapping, and then you select 800 for target peak luminance. So now you see here, if you can see with the camera, you see here 710 for target peak luminance. And the reason is I'm doing other tweakings because I have to increase the visibility of the midtones for the game to look good, okay? Because this HDR is messed up it's one of the worst HDRs ever. So what I'm doing is I'm using a bunch of settings, okay? So I'm gonna have a link in the description of this video to a video where I break down how to use this PROD 8003 CurvedLevels shader. I explain exactly how to use this shader, so I use the same knowledge, which is basically this allows us to tweak the everything, to tweak near black, tweak the midtones, tweak the highlights, everything. And let me show you here how it looks. The change that I did, how that looks. This is what I did. Basically, I just increased the visibility of the midtones. You can see here with these numbers, with these settings, I increased the visibility of the midtones. And the in-game settings are very easy. The in-game settings that I'm using is under the HDR settings, I have the first slider, the HDR brightness slider. I have that at 50, which is the default 50. And then the second slider, I have that at 1000. I just maxed that out. And then I go to the brightness calibration screen, not the HDR brightness, the brightness calibration screen. And the default is 50. I just max that out to 100, okay? And it doesn't wash out the picture like the HDR brightness. That one does wash out the picture, but this one, the brightness, the regular brightness slider, it doesn't wash out the picture, and I need that. I need to increase the visibility of the midtone. So I'm doing that. Those are the in-game settings. I am doing this with this shader, PROD 8003 CurvedLevels, and the way I am accomplishing this is by changing the numbers as follows. I changed the shoulder position X, the shoulder position X to 0.576, the shoulder position Y to 0.595, the toe position X to 0.560, and the toe position Y to 0.580. Those are the changes, okay? So by doing that, I am increasing the visibility of the midtones. You can see it here on this graph. This is what I am accomplishing with this. But when I do that, this changes the MaxCLL a little bit. That's why I cannot use here on the HDR tone mapping the target peak luminance. I have this in 710. I do not have it at 800 because when I try to increase the visibility of the midtones, everything goes up. So I needed to lower this this target peak luminance to 710. Okay, so here on this shader, on the lilium tone mapping shader, these are the changes that I made. I changed the target peak luminance to 710. I selected the tone mapping mode static, so static tone mapping. I have the default BT 2446 method A. And let's see what else I changed here. The MaxCLL for static tone mapping is 10,000. And let's see what else I changed here. Oh, and the other thing that I changed here was the Gamut Compression. I wanted to increase the color saturation because when I lower that MaxCLL from 10,000 to 800, the colors, they get less saturated. So you lose color saturation. So with this option here that says Gamut Compression, it tells you here that if you lower that from the default 1.1, if you lower that to 1, it tells you that this slightly expands the color space. And you can see it on this graph. When you lower that from 1.1 to 1, you get a more colorful picture. It looks better. So I lowered that to 1. Those are the changes that I'm doing here. The other thing that I did was for the HDR analysis tool, I need to work because it was not working. I needed to copy here under CSP override. So I'm talking about the lilium HDR analysis for this shader to work and show me these two graphs and the MaxCLL, I needed to copy here under CSP override. I needed to copy CSP underscore PQ in capital letters, everything on capital letters. CSP underscore PQ. And there was a member of our community that told me that, and I posted that on a community post. He was telling me that this is how to get this tool working with auto HDR. You have to copy a different, I think it's called sRGB, CSP sRGB, something like that. You have to copy that line of code for this HDR analysis tool to work with HDR, and you have to do this for this game and maybe for other games. It was not working for me for some reason. So when I copy that CSP underscore PQ, the HDR analysis tool start working. So that's it. That's what I want you to learn from this video, that you can do tone mapping using this new Lilium shaders package, and with using this one, Lilium tone mapping. You can do tone mapping. It's very easy. So if your monitor or TV doesn't have the tone mapping option for 10,000, this is how you can get a better HDR experience. This is very, very important because we have a lot of games now on HDR that are trying to output 10,000 nits and it just looks horrendous. Look at this. Before, you cannot see anything. And of course, now that I changed my camera settings, you can see even less. Let me change that back. Okay, so you can see it now. Before, after. It's a huge difference. Gigantic. Like, this is just a mess. Okay? An absolute mess. Everything looks blown out, horrendously bad. After. Okay? Huge difference. Of course, I can change the in-game settings trying to mitigate that issue. But when I do that, the MaxCLL is still 10,000 and it looks too dark. The game just looks too dark. So yeah, it is a mess. Now, I can use the tone mapping on my TV and adjust the in-game settings and it looks okay. It looks okay. They don't look fantastic. Neither of those two options look fantastic, but this is at least acceptable. This looks okay. This looks okay. It is usable. It looks better than SDR for sure. Does it look better than an SDR, HDR trick? I would say yes, just because you get more details on the clouds. So when you look at the clouds on SDR, there's almost no details. For some reason, that shouldn't be the case. I think that's an issue with the tone mapping on this game. On SDR and on HDR, it's just an issue. Because on SDR, you can still enjoy beautiful clouds. One thing doesn't have anything to do with the other. You just need to, do the color grading correctly. I mean, it's not gonna be bright, but you should be able to see all the details on the clouds. Because it's SDR, it doesn't mean that it has to look like this. So it's just an issue with the game. But this is a solution. It is very nice that we have now this reshade that allows us to basically change the image completely on HDR. And this curve is very useful, so you understand what you're doing with these values on the CurvedLevels shader. You understand exactly what you're doing. What I'm doing here, just increasing the visibility of the midtones, but trying to keep everything tight for the near black and for the highlights. And this game doesn't have the black level raised. This game has the black levels okay, and you can see it on the graph. It is, well, now it is during the day, but you can see it during the night. But the black, even here, you can see the black levels on this game are perfect. It's probably the only thing that is not broken on this game. I mean, it's kind of broken because if you don't raise that brightness slider in game, during the night, it's just too dark. It looks terrible. But yeah, now it looks okay. So yeah, let me know if you give this a try, if you like it, your experience, if you've been playing around with these shaders. I am probably going to do another video and share the settings for God of War, which is another 10,000 nits game. And I have to work very hard on that one because that one is also messed up. Like, it's very difficult to fix. I've been working on this game the entire day and I'm like, okay, this game doesn't deserve more work than what I've done already. It's like the full day working on these settings. Okay, it's like, yeah, okay, this cannot get better than that. I give up. Okay, this looks okay already. I'm not gonna try to get it perfect because it is just not possible. When I look at this graph and I look at the clouds, I see that this graph, regardless of if I lower the MaxCLL or not, this is like the details on the cloud, they are being cut for some reason. It is like the waves here are supposed to be like this, and instead of being like this, instead of the waves being like this, they are cut for some reason. It's like the details are being lost and you cannot fix it because you do not have that information. It doesn't matter if you lower the entire grayscale, you cannot get those details that you're supposed to see, so it is cut. So you're never going to get perfect clouds here. It's just not possible. But at least we're getting it way better than the default. Before, after. We're improving it massively. So this is all the work I'm willing to do for this game. I'm still haven't beat the game, but I'm at the very end, very end. So yeah, just gonna beat it. Yeah, I'm not gonna work anymore on this game. I've worked so many hours to fix the HDR on this game. It's so broken. But I will do a video with God of War. I'm gonna share the settings for God of War. And then I'm going to do another video about Uncharted 4, The Lost Legacy, and The Last of Us. I'm going to have those three games in a single video because the HDR on those three games is about the same. It's the same crap. Same engine, same 10,000 nits. It's the same crap. It's not terrible. At least it doesn't have the black level rays, but it just doesn't look good because 10,000 nits and the colors of the colors are just too wide, and this display is not capable enough to give you the color saturation with that HDR, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look great. But yeah, with these settings, Horizon Zero Dawn on the PC, it looks good. It's not fantastic. It's not gonna look better than Horizon Forbidden West on the PS5, but it looks good. It's okay. It's not terrible, but yeah, a shame. But this is the best we can do. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to keep learning about this Reshade because you can do everything with Reshade. You can get the results that you want. You just need to learn, experiment with it, and you will get better at it. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get better at it, and maybe in the future I can share, you can just download the preset and you just copy it and you don't have to worry about it. So yeah, but I prefer to explain you what I'm doing, and I prefer you to think about it, because when you actually try to do this stuff, you're going to learn, and you're going to teach me something new that I don't know. Okay, actually somebody else told me that this was working well. Somebody, I think the username MV, if I remember, something like that. He told me, hey, have you tried this lilium tone mapping? And I said, yes, I tried for a moment, but I didn't see that it was working right. And he told me, hey, yeah, I tried on Horizon Zero Dawn and it does work. So I actually tried his settings and I said, okay, yeah, I see how it works. And that's what I'm sharing with you. So what I'm trying to do is to share my experience, the things that I am learning, but I want you to learn too, so you can teach me. And now I will do another video and we can all know better. That's how we can grow the knowledge. of this community. That's how we can all get a better result and a better experience. I don't want to be the expert, because I am not an expert. I don't want to just give you the settings and tell you, hey, I work very hard on this, copy my settings, and that's it. No, I want to explain you what I know, my understanding. So if you know better, you can tell me, hey, actually, it works in this way, and actually do it this other way, and I know this and that. So I can learn, because I am learning. I am not an expert. So I don't like to make videos and just tell you the settings and that's it. I always try to explain you my criteria and how I arrive to those conclusions. In this case, I didn't want to go deep on this, because I already did it. Link in the description of the video. I already explained how this shader works, these curved levels. And what I explain you about this tone mapping shader is as far as I know right now. I still need to learn what are all these settings that we have available. This is as far as I know right now. So let me know. Oh, by the way, I think I didn't mention this before I finished. This processing mode, I changed this from YCBCR to ICtCp, because I think this is better and more advanced, but I don't see any difference. But yeah, that's another change that I did. I didn't mention that before. And the other thing is that I play around with this knee factor and knee minus, and I don't see the effect. Maybe I'm not looking at the right place, but I don't see this making any difference. The user that told me about this shader, he told me, hey, I changed this knee factor to 1.8 if I remember correctly, and the knee minus to 1, but I don't see that doing anything. So let me know if you have more experience and why I don't see the effect of these two, knee factor and knee minus, on their processing mode here. But yeah, that's all I know for now. So let me know if you have your thoughts and opinions, and if you have any questions.